So you're ready to take the next step in making your iPad a computer that's not a computer. What you're gonna need is a keyboard, because tapping on the glass screen just isn't cutting it. The main competitors are the Magic Keyboard or the Smart Keyboard Folio. Today I'm gonna go through all the differences between them and tell you which one that you should get. Now, first thing that we need to think about is what iPad do you have? Because that already restricts you from getting certain keyboards for your iPad. So you should definitely visit Apple's website. Just a rule of thumb though, if your iPad can use the Smart Keyboard Folio, then it can use the Magic Keyboard, and vice versa. Let's start with the features that are missing from the Smart Keyboard Folio that are in the Magic Keyboard. Number one being the trackpad. Steve Jobs once said this:
multi-touch gestures. You know, the first thing you think about is this, right? We've done tons of user testing on this, and it turns out it doesn't work. Touch surfaces don't want to be vertical. It gives great demo, but after a short period of time, you start to fatigue, and after an extended period of time, your arm wants to fall off. It doesn't work. It's ergonomically terrible. Touch surfaces want to be horizontal, hence pads.
In that similar vein, they made the touch bar on the keyboard so that your arm can just reach over to the touch bar in place of the function keys. So it's good ergonomically, but whether or not it was worth it to trade it in for the function keys is still debatable. When they were designing the Smart Keyboard Folio though, that kinda just went all out the window. When I say this, I'm not saying that Tim Cook is a bad CEO and he's going against everything that Steve Jobs stand for, and Steve is probably rolling in his grave right now, because that's not what I mean at all, and I hate people who say that with a fiery passion. Not having a trackpad on the Smart Keyboard Folio, it feels like Steve is kind of exaggerating, because this product is relatively successful, and ergonomically it's not the best, but it's still usable. Apple wouldn't renew it for a second version with the new Apple logo embossed at the back and the darker color if it wasn't a good product. Having trackpad support was a huge step in making the iPad a laptop replacement, but it doesn't necessarily have to be attached to your keyboard in order for it to be useful. So if you get the Smart Keyboard Folio and the Magic Trackpad separately, then you might be able to save a little bit of money and get a better trackpad even if it isn't attached to your iPad. But that isn't to say that the Magic Keyboard's trackpad is perfect in every way. If you've ever used a MacBook's trackpad that's been released in the past 5 years, then the trackpad that is on the Magic Keyboard has a lot of downsides, especially on the 11-inch model compared to the large, expensive trackpads on the MacBooks. It feels very claustrophobic when you use it. Obviously, you get used to it, but it's only 10 centimeters by 4 centimeters, and on the 12.9-inch model, it is 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters. So if that's something that you're worried about, then there you go. Get the Magic Trackpad. Another feature that is on the Magic Keyboard that is not present in the Smart Keyboard Folio is that extra USB-C charging port. This wasn't something that we were expecting when the Magic Keyboard was just rumors, but it was definitely a very welcome addition. Something that was slightly disappointing was that this port was only restricted to charging, and you can't transfer any data through it. And the only consistently reliable cord that you can use through that port was the one that came in the box with the iPad. Even if it's only a charging port doesn't mean it's not useful though, because you can charge using that port and use the other port on the iPad to transfer the data. You really have to ask yourself whether or not you're going to be transferring a lot of data to and from your iPad, which I think for a lot of people the answer is no. And the final feature is the backlit keyboard. This was a very big feature that we were asking for in this Magic Keyboard, and that's because it helps you see the keyboard while you're in the dark. It adapts to the light because there's no function keys. Yes, the keyboard has no function keys. If you do want a keyboard attached to your iPad that has function keys, then you can definitely look for another accessory, a third-party accessory like the Logitech Combo Touch or the Bridge keyboards, which I realize now don't really get enough recognition, probably because Apple weren't the people who made it, but I mean, what can I do? A potential downside is that the light can be considered distracting because when you touch it, the whole keyboard just lights up and you have to wait a few seconds until it dims down again. So maybe if you're watching a movie and you're just moving the mouse a little bit to go press a button, then you'll have to wait for a while until the keyboard dims down and you can watch your movie without any visual distractions. Now, let's talk about one of the most important parts of the keyboard, the keyboards. As you would expect, the keyboard on the Magic Keyboard has a better typing experience than the Folio. The Folio has a more traditional tablet keyboard feel, which can really only be described as mushy. It has the butterfly switch mechanism that was present in the MacBooks ever since the dreaded 12-inch MacBook up until the last few years when Apple made the change back to the scissor switches, which is the mechanism present in the Magic Keyboard. Unlike the butterfly keys on the MacBooks though, the Folio does not have any issues with keys failing or really any issues for that matter. You see, the main reason why the butterfly switches had so many problems was that Apple wanted to make the thinnest keyboard they could. So what happened was, if any dust got caught under the key, there wouldn't be enough space for it to escape. So it would just stay there until it gets caught in something and the whole key fails. What Apple did in the Folio keyboard was they made the entire keyboard out of a single piece of fabric that stretched when you pressed a key. So no dust can get in at all. That also means that, unlike the Magic Keyboard, the Folio is almost entirely dust and water resistant, except for some holes in the back, which are there for air to escape when you press a key. Just because Folio uses the butterfly switch doesn't mean the keys can't feel tactile, though. If you type hard enough, it can create a rather satisfying groove, if you, don't really mind the noise that it makes, which some people really do mind the noise. Now, let's talk about angles. There are only 2 angles on the Smart Keyboard Folio, one more vertical and then one more angled for different use cases, where on the Magic Keyboard, you can get any angle up to 130 degrees, including angles that face slightly downward, which can be useful for a few situations. Something that the Folio does have as an advantage over the Magic Keyboard is that the keyboard is only activated when the iPad is magnetically attached to one of the 2 angles. If you want to use the iPad to write something with the Apple Pencil, you can just flip the Folio behind the iPad and then write it on a desk. Whereas on a Magic Keyboard, you sort of have to pop it out of the Magic Keyboard, then, fold it down and then place the iPad on top of it. In terms of size, they're both pretty reasonable, but the Magic Keyboard is definitely bigger because it has a hinge with the USB port, but where it really makes a difference is the weight. For the 11-inch, the Folio weighs 297 grams, while the Magic Keyboard weighs 601 grams, which is significantly heavier in ways that you definitely notice while you're carrying it around, but it still isn't too heavy while you're carrying it around in a backpack, so whether or not it's too heavy is kind of up to you to decide. But if you're looking for maximum portability, then the Folio has you and your iPad covered. Literally. Obviously, in terms of build quality, the more expensive one is going to win. With the Magic Keyboard's weight comes with an incredibly sturdy typing experience with very little stretch and a very strong hinge comparable to that on the MacBooks. And with the Folio's lightness and portability, everything about it feels like a slight downgrade from the Magic Keyboard. When you're typing on the Folio on your lap, the whole iPad sort of vibrates and it doesn't feel as stable as the Magic Keyboard. Similarly, the magnets on the Folio are not as strong as on the Magic Keyboard, but you can still pick it up from the keyboard part. You just have to be a little bit more careful while moving it around. It feels like for this entire video, I've just been praising the Magic Keyboard, but for all those pros come with this major con: the price. Before I tell you the prices of the products, I want you to ask yourself, how much are you willing to pay for an iPad accessory? Have you got the number? Here we go. The Magic Keyboard starts at $299 or 9,990 baht for the 11-inch and $349 or 11,690 baht for the 12.9-inch. Whereas the Smart Keyboard Folio is $179 or 5,990 baht for the 11-inch and $199 or 6,590 baht for the 12.9-inch. That's significantly more expensive. So if the Magic Keyboard is not within your budget, well then, there you go. Yes, the Magic Keyboard is expensive, but is it worth it? Because those are two different things. I kind of answered this question in one of my previous videos, which is reviewing the Magic Keyboard, but there really isn't anything out there that is up to the level of quality that you will get from the Magic Keyboard, but is it worth it is still something for you to decide. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you think about this video in the comments below. Tell me which one you're gonna get. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe for more. Okay, bye.